Alrighty, so I want to show you how you can use our auto text buttons and give you a little context to what those are in the system. So basically in every MBP account, you have access to what are called our auto text buttons. And so I just want to show you how you'll get there. So essentially on the calendar, you'll go ahead and you'll click on the appointment in question that you're going to be writing the note for. So here, if I was adding a note for Steve Carpenter, I'd come in here, and if I have set up my default note template type to be the CBT Note auto text, it's going to automatically populate right there. However, if I have something else pulled through, maybe it's the general note, or it was potentially maybe a custom note that I've created, I think it might default to CBT Note when you first get set up. So you can go and change those settings in the account settings, which I'll show in just a moment. But essentially here, I would choose CBT Note auto text, and then these are the auto text buttons. And so the way the auto text button works is you'll see there's all these different kind of modalities and things that you can use. For example, if I want to do a mental status exam, I could click MSE, and right here, I could go ahead and imagine it was, the client's in normal limits for all the parts of the MSE. If I click normal limits, whoops, I don't know why I duplicated there. Sorry about that. So essentially here, right, if I chose MSE, it's going to basically write the normal limits for everything for that mental status exam. If I'd rather go through and basically go, okay, so state of appearance, and I want to choose appropriate for setting. I don't know why it's duplicating. I'll figure that out. But here, essentially, right, it's going to say client's appearance was appropriate for setting. If I want to do the full query and go through every single one, again, I could go ahead and I could use these drop downs, or I could put in my own. I could say poor hygiene and smells bad, right? Something like that. I could put in my own custom response here, and I'd be able to keep going. So nonverbal and grunting. I could do hyperactive. If the affect, if I don't like any of these, right, I could say, I could write in my own. So agitated, I prefer that as the descriptor. And again, I can just choose all these different items here. So go ahead and choose that. And I just go through all of the different options here. And again, this is the full query, but you can also go ahead and, so here, right, it says poor hygiene and smells bad, was nonverbal and grunting, and then all those other ones that I selected. Here it says agitated, that was the custom one I put in. And so, a lot of times if they're going to be in normal limits for most everything, you could just choose normal limits and then make the adjustments for just the ones that I want to adjust. So here I could, go ahead and put in whatever the actual thought process was, were disjointed. Alrighty, so that's kind of how the auto text buttons work. Again, you'll see there's a lot of different modalities. So here, if I want to go and look at, DBT, I could do that. I could say dialectical strategies. We could go ahead and pop that in. We could do, cognitive therapy. So here's going to be a lot of CBT stuff. If I wanted to do behavioral analysis, for example, I could do that, and so forth. So that's those auto text buttons. Feel free to play around with them. We're always building out new ones, and so stay tuned for more auto text buttons there. But let me just show you really quickly how you can set up the auto text to be your default note. So you'll essentially go to settings, and go to account settings. If you want to set it for your practice as a whole, you're going to go here to practice settings and press edit. And then in the clinical tab, you're just going to choose CBT Note auto text as the default session note. So essentially now every new client that you create, when you go to enter a note for them, they're going to have CBT Note auto text chosen as that default template. It'll also remember, so if you already have clients set up and you want to change their note for the future, you can absolutely go in and, so like, let's say Teresa Smith, I go to her note, and she had test pulled through originally. If I change it to CBT Note auto text, and I go ahead and I save a note. So let's say I was doing ACT, metaphors, save changes. If I go to the next week, she's going to have CBT Note auto text chosen again. So I just have to make that change once. Last thing I'll say about auto text settings is here in your account settings, you can actually go to practice settings and you'll see there's auto text. And here you can hide menus that you don't want to see. So essentially you're going to hide the menus that you don't want to appear in that auto text. So maybe I don't do acupuncture, or I don't do occupational therapy. I don't really do risk assessment or trauma work or REBT, right? I can choose which ones I want to see by leaving those ones unchecked. And then the ones that I want to hide, I'm going to check off. So right here, I only want to see ACT, anger management, cognitive therapy, and so on. So I'm going to press save changes. And when I go to my note now and I go to write a session note with the auto text template pulled through, you'll see only the ones that I want are there.